Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'll get yours on, that's good. I rise in this House today, like others, to speak on Bill C-93, an act to provide no-cost, expedited record suspensions for simple possession of cannabis. I hate to say this, Madam Chair, but I do support this bill in principle. It's a poor bill. No, I think I'll even actually extend that to the fact that it's a terrible bill. It was pushed on us on the last end of Parliament. The Liberals have known this was coming up, but yet they're trying to ram it through. You know, this kind of reminds me of the NAFTA trade deal. Not very good for Canadians. When the Liberals brought forward the marijuana legalization bill, C-93, an act respecting cannabis and to amend the Controlled Drugs and Substance Act, the Criminal Code and other acts, it received royal dissent on June 2018. The Prime Minister at that time just wanted to push it in. But you know what? He had to set it aside even until October 17th because there were so many complications that the Liberal government did not look at and how complicated it was going to be for many jurisdictions across our country. I never supported Bill C-43, and I'll stand up here again today and say I don't support it. It was badly thought out, probably even worse so than this one. It was badly written, probably even more so than this one. But, again, this is typical of the government across the way. Again, just look at what they did with NAFTA here in the last little while. But, as the Prime Minister said yesterday, and the reason I'm supporting this bill today is that a deal is better than no deal. That's what the Prime Minister said yesterday about NAFTA. He didn't say it was a great deal. He said no deal is better than no. C-45 was just a promise of his that he made to the public. It was an election gimmick. Probably worked. But let's get back to Bill C-93. I'm getting off the topic here. No deal would be bad. Therefore, that's why I support this. The Pro Board wants to investigate a good portion of these applications. They said so many times in our committee hearings. They say they have no electronic program. They also didn't seem to be very interested, hadn't even looked at it. The witnesses came to us many times, many different witnesses, that said the whole program is too cumbersome now to apply for a record pardon. You know, one of the United States prosecutors in California recently said, when government uses 20th century technology to tackle a 21st century problem, it's the people who pay the price. And that's exactly what we're doing today. We're trying to still work on 20th century technology, most of it by hand. Bill C-93 recommends that the Parole Board look at electronic means. It was a recommendation. It was my recommendation. It was kept in there. As mentioned earlier, the Parole Board could not tell us exactly how many people in Canada may be applying for this. There was one figure that came out, 250,000 maybe. Another agency said they thought it might be closer to 500,000. And I think the Parole Board said, well, we might get 10 or 12,000 that will apply. They can't give us a cost. This seems to be a government agency where the bureaucrats don't want to step out of their sandbox and modernize. They're not listening to Canadians for what is best. Madam Chair, I've been speaking a little bit about modernizing. And I'd like to read something here that recently took place in the state of California, which legalized marijuana the last couple of years. And it's called the Code for America's Clear My Record, to revolutionize criminal record clearance practices. I'm going to read this. This was in an article posted on February 14, 2019 by Jails to Jobs magazine. Imagine the effect that automatically clearing hundreds and thousands of eligible criminal records would have on the lives of the people who have them. Those unable to get jobs because of the mistakes they made in the past would now be record-free. Just imagine that. Consider the hassle and expense that the people must go through to clear their records. It almost seems unbelievable, but it's not. Madam Chair, technology has the capability to download rap sheets in bulk, algorithmically read them to determine the eligibility, and automatically fill out the petitions. But we're not going that way. We made a recommendation, but this was never really, I discussed it many times and it was ignored by the Liberal government and the Liberal members on the committee. Code for America launches Clear My Record. It was a program developed in the United States, and it went online in California last year. California intends using this system to clear 250,000 criminal records for simple marijuana in 1 year. And here we are, bringing out Bill C-93 with no real strong indication of going electronically in the modern age, other than my recommendation, and I think probably just looked over and it'll sit there in the background. Because that's what the whole discussion on Bill C-93 should have been about, was modernization, making it easy for the people out there to electronically go on a computer, whether it was their own or through some social service agency or through a legal channel, and fill in the application, fill in the history, make a declaration, and let our computers do a lot of the digital analyzing work, checking the records. The program could go on to interconnect with provincial registries, court registries. The program could go on to interconnect with the RCMP, but we're going to do it manually in the 21st century. I cannot understand why we would be going that way when the technology is out there that proves that it can be done. Now, Mr. Speaker, the NDP party, and I got to understand their rationale for expungement. You know, and when I listened to my colleague from the NDP party explain their rationale at the committee, you know, in a lot of cases, it makes sense. Now, I started as a young man policing back in the 60s, and the marijuana movement was just starting, and we were laying charges for possession of marijuana, simple possession, maybe trafficking if you had a certain amount. And I believe that expungement could work if that is the only record that that person has and it's sitting there by itself. But my colleague from Medicine Hat Cardstone has concerns. He's a police officer too, and we both have concerns that on a lot of cases going back over the years, a lot of these simple records that are sitting in our record systems did not start that way. They may be simple possession today, Madam Chair, but they may have started off as trafficking. There may have been an obstruction charge there, but it was dealt down by the prosecutor and a defense lawyer to a simple possession charge. And these are the ones that we're concerned with, and why the Canadian Police Association asked that they be thoroughly reviewed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the member for his speech, and in particular, I want to thank him for his thoughtful work in public safety. he's one of the more thoughtful members in this House when it comes to people's lives and the importance of people being able to move forward. So my question to him is, in particular, this bill reduces the fee for the pardons from $631 to $0. And I'm just wondering if he could maybe speak to the importance of not just the pardon, but being able to apply for a pardon without having to pay a fee for it.
Okay. The honourable member for Yellowhead.
I'd like to thank the member for the question, and it's a very good question. Yes, the fee as it is today makes it very difficult for people with marginal incomes that are coming from marginal backgrounds. That we all understand. The greater problem is that this bill did not go far enough to encourage municipalities across Canada or provincial governments across Canada to play ball with this bill and look at eliminating the fee for going to get a criminal record. Could be $75, as high as $150 from some municipality. Then you have to get that fingerprint checked. Again, that could be another $75 to $150. So it really impacts. Add that to the $630. As my colleague said earlier, it could be well close to $1,000. That is unacceptable. This is dealing with a simple possession of marijuana. And if that's all that's in that criminal record, I believe that electronically it could be removed quite simply. And if we modernize our parole system, it can be done very cost effectively, very quickly, but if we remain the way this bill states it is today and leave it in the hands of the parole board the way they are doing it today, it will take too much time and people will still suffer.
Comments? Questions et commentaires. The honourable member for Dauphin. Sorry, it's a long one, so I just want to make sure I get it right. The honourable member for Dauphin, Swan River, Nipawin.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank my colleague for his speech, and I'm very grateful for his service to our country as a police officer. He and I have had a number of conversations about the situations he has been involved in, and very few of us could have endured what he endured. I want to correct the Parliamentary Secretary for the Minister of Health and the Prime Minister yesterday, who said that under Bill C-71, there now is required a permit to buy a firearm. That is an absolute falsehood. Here is a possession and acquisition license, which you have to have after getting a test in order to buy a firearm, and this has been in place for a decade or more. And my question to my honourable colleague, the Liberals across the way said over and over again that legalizing cannabis will eliminate the illegal trade in cannabis, which is clearly not nonsense. Does my friend have a comment on the relationship between legalization of cannabis and the great increase in the illegal trade in cannabis?
I just want to remind the honourable members that they can refer to a document, but they can't use one as a prop. It's just a little reminder for the next questions or the presentations that happen. The honourable member for Yellowhead.
Thank you. I'd like to thank my honourable friend next to me here for that question. And actually, the PAL has been out almost about 20 years now.
20 years.
Since it came out. And I believe that the current legislation will not decrease the criminal or backdoor marijuana trade. It will actually increase it. I heard the parliamentary secretary speak about, well, we're going to stop the 15, 14-year-olds and that stuff from selling these things, but they put a little portion in the act that a 12-year-old would not be charged. Well, if I was a criminal ringleader of an organized crime, I would be giving all my drugs to a 12-year-old to take into the school and dispose for me, because no one is going to get charged. So the legislation is wrong. It was wrong when it was brought out. It was ill thought out, and I still do not believe it was a good law for Canada.
Hear, hear.